Ito ang mainit na balita ngayon kung saan muling pinag-uusapan at binabalikan sa social media. Habang nagpapatuloy ang impeachment trial laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte, marami ang nagsasabing upang lubos na maunawaan ang mga pangyayaring nagaganap ngayon, kailangan munang balikan ang isa sa mga pinaka-kontrobersyal na pagdinig sa Kamara noong Nobyembre 20, 2024. Para sa mga taga-suporta ni VP Sara Duterte, dito umano nagsimula ang lahat. Sa naturang pagdinig, naging sentro ng diskusyon ang naging pagtrato kay Atty Lopez at sa ilang opisyal ng Office of the Vice President. Ayon sa mga kritiko ng pagdinig, tila sunod-sunod ang matitinding tanong na ibinato sa mga opisyal ng OVP. At para sa ilan, ay mistulang naiipit na sila sa gitna ng matinding interpelasyon. Ang mga pangyayari ay nauwi kalaunan sa pagdeklara ng contempt laban kay Atty Lopez. Isang hakbang na umani ng matinding reaksyon mula sa kampo ni VP Sara at sa kanyang mga taga-suporta. Para sa mga sumusuporta sa Vice Presidente, ang mga pangyayaring ito ang naging ugat ng lumalalang tensyon sa pagitan ni VP Sara Duterte at ng ilang personalidad sa pamahalaan. Ayon sa kanilang pananaw, hindi maaaring pag-usapan ang mga sumunod na kontrobersya nang hindi nauunawaan ang mga pangyayaring naganap sa Kongreso at ang naging epekto nito sa relasyon ng magkabilang panig. Ngunit, ano nga ba ang tunay na nangyari sa pagdinig noong Nobyembre 20, 2024? Ano ang mga pangyayaring nagbunsod ng matinding reaksyon mula sa kampo ni VP Sara Duterte? At bakit maraming netizens ang nagsasabing dito nagsimula ang serye ng mga pangyayaring humantong sa kasalukuyang impeachment trial? Bago natin alamin ang buong detalye, kung bago ka pa lamang sa aming channel, huwag kalimutang i-like ang video, mag-subscribe at i-click ang notification bell para lagi kang updated sa ating mga pinakabagong balita at komentaryo. At ngayon, balikan natin ang throwback sa kontrobersyal na pagdinig sa Kongreso at alamin kung bakit para sa marami, dito nagsimula ang lahat.
I'm not asking Atty Lopez who prepares them.
Yes.
As an attorney and as a city administrator, you know that it is prohibited, generally prohibited, to issue travel orders that are open-ended. Are you trying to hide the truth? Is it so difficult already for people to say the truth? Nowadays na you have to come up with all sorts of lies. But I'm telling you, you're gonna run out of excuses eventually. So previous to your position now, you worked as city administrator of Davao City, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
So as city administrator, I'm sure travel authorities would come and go your desk.
For certain officials only, Your Honor.
Yes, so but they would come your desk. Ikaw ang pumipirma, ikaw ang signatory, ikaw may authority.
That is.
And you would know that open-ended travel orders are generally prohibited. You cannot issue a travel order that doesn't specify to where you're going, up to when will you be there, and the other details and purpose of your travel. Is that correct?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, the preparation of, when I was a city administrator, the preparation of documents as regard travel authorities is actually handled by the Human Resource Division.
Yes, I'm not asking Atty Lopez who prepares them.
Yes.
As an attorney and as a city administrator, you know that it is prohibited, generally prohibited, to issue travel orders that are open-ended, meaning no specific place, purpose, and time.
Your Honor, I would think that in this case, it can be justified because there is a schedule of activities happening on these dates. So at the very least, I would think that it limits.
So if you think it's justified,
the areas.
Yes, yeah.
In this particular case, Your
yes.
Honor.
So if you think it's justified in this particular case, let's take this particular case as an example. So what particular places are you speaking of?
That is the matter, Your Honor, that was discussed earlier. I would have to ask and check
So
which areas.
therefore, you cannot use this example as a particular case because you yourself have no specific information as to what these various places are. Am I correct, Atty Lopez?
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, there is a list of activities happening across our satellite offices. That can be indication of which areas they will be traveling to.
So meaning, Is this a regular practice in the Office of the Vice President where you issue travel orders recklessly with no specific day, with no specific place, with no specific purpose? Basta ang sinusulat nyo lang yon, various. Paano ngayon to, Atty. Lopez? Paano ngayon to, si Mrs. Villa del Rey? Nandiyan ba siya?
She probably went on restroom break, Your Honor.
Okay, tatanong ko na lang si Attorney Sanchez. Kung ganito yung practice sa OVP, paano nyo charge ng per dime? Tapos paano kayo nag-i-issue ng travel voucher? Paano kayo nag-i-issue ng pambayad ng ticket, pambili ng gasolina, pambayad sa kain, sa eroplano? Kung ito, sinasabi nyo, various places. Various places can mean here, there, everywhere. From the North Pole to the South Pole. So, I mean, you can't expect the committee to believe that one reason to why your officials are not present is because they're attending to activities in various places. That's totally unacceptable. Is this a practice in your office, Attorney Sanchez?
Mr. Chair, usually before we issue a travel order, there are attachments to it. The first one would be the request for travel
I'm not asking that,
authority.
Attorney Sanchez. I know the process because I used to work as a chief executive in a local government unit. I know how it works. So don't tell me the process. What I'm asking you, ito ba ay practice sa Office of the Vice President na recklessly nag-i-issue kayo ng travel authority?
No, Mr. Chair.
O, ba't nyo ginagawa? O hindi naman pala. So ba't nyo ginagawa?
Mr. Chair,
So therefore, kung
Not
hindi nyo
issue.
pala talagang ginagawa, ngayon nyo lang ginawa. Kung kailan may hearing tayo sa good government. Na parang lumalabas, sadyang iniiwasan nyo na dumalo yung mga opisyalis ninyo dito sa aming pagdinig. Kasi talagang isasabay nyo pa eh. Kung kailan may hearing, sinasadya nyo na wala dito. At yung at yung pumirma pa doon sa travel authority na yon is the same person who promised that he should be here. Mr. Chair, this is beyond disrespect to the committee.
Mr. Chairman.
I mean, at the very least, are you trying to hide the truth? Is it so difficult already for people to say the truth? Nowadays, na you have to come up with all sorts of lies. But I'm telling you, you're gonna run out of excuses eventually. You're gonna run out of reasons eventually. And eventually, we're gonna get to you. So
Chairman.
with that being said, Mr. Chair, maraming salamat.
Thank you. With the indulgence
Chairman.
of Congressman Rog Gutierrez, the Chair would like to recognize Congressman Pagano.
Thank you, Congressman and the Chair. Now, ma'am, alam mo, looking back, no, balikan ko lang yung excuse letter nung nakaraan. For example, in the case of Gina Acosta, may travel authority siya, di ba, that time? And her travel was, during the time was, I think, in Bacolod City, sa satellite office. Malinaw po doon sa travel authority niya. Sinabit niyo po rito. Nakaspecify po yung date at saka place. Andito ngayon si Doc Chris Roman, in charge of the satellite office in Western Visayas. And during that hearing, I think if my memory serves me right, that was the second invitation. And that was the excuse of Gina Acosta with an official travel order doon po sa Bacolod City, satellite office. Now, today, ang problema nyo kasi, ma'am, Attorney Sanchez, alam mo ba, ang problema nyo kasi ngayon, nilalabas nyo na walang specific area. Ma'am, talagang tinatago nyo. Alam mo bakit? Kasi supposedly, after the travel, if she goes back to your office, may certificate of appearance. And that certificate of appearance dapat coincide or inconsistent with the travel authority. For example, nakastipulate on Bacolod City or Region 6 satellite office. Eh, yung certificate of appearance siya sa ibang satellite office. Will you honor it? Ma'am? Attorney? Will you honor it?
No, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no. That's why, huwag niyong gamiting palusot dito na walang specific time, date, and place. Ma'am, lastly, I just want to warn you. Don't you know, by telling in this committee, you're violating Section 11 of our rules. Letter F po, undue interference. That's our internal rules. You're violating Section 11 of letter F, paragraph F of our rules. Undue interference during scheduled hearing by the committee. I just want to inform you, ma'am, And if you want to check it, you can check it in our website. Nandyan po yun, attorney. You're a lawyer, you know that.
Yes. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, Attorney
Mr. Chair, may I
Sanchez.
be allowed to respond, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
please.
Mr. Chair, earlier I was asked to check for records for the travel orders. So that's what I did, Mr. Chair. I just checked, and from the report of our Central Records Unit, they provided me with copies of the travel orders, Mr. Chair. So for the period of November 10 to 15, Mr. Chair, that is what was mentioned by Honorable Congressman Paduano, that Ms. Gina Acosta traveled to a satellite office, and the place is specific. But, Mr. Chair, another travel order was issued for the period of November 18 to 22, Mr. Chair. And I'm just basing it, my statement.
And who signed that
on the-
travel order?
As mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, it was Assistant Chief of Staff, Lemuel Ortonio.
And he's not present also.
Yes, that is
Eh,
correct.
pare-pareho sila.
Who signed the travel order of Ordonio?
For the travel, wait, Mr. Chair. For the travel order number 2024-983, and that covers the period of November 11 to 15, the signatory of the travel order is the Vice President, Your Honor, in accordance with our
Yung
office
ngayon,
order.
sino yung nag-sign ng travel authority? Ito ngayon.
Mr. Chair, for the travel of Ms. Acosta, Attorney Fajarda and Mr. Fajarda, the signatory is Mr. Ortonio, in
Mr.
accordance
Ortonio.
with our
And he's
office
also
order.
absent today.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Eh, paano siya sasagot? But ma'am, last question lang po, attorney. Regular ba yun? Yung ngayon? Regular ba o irregular? Yung travel authority na yan? In your own experience and based on the practices, supposedly the practices in your office, is it regular or irregular? Without dates, without the specific place?
Mr. Chair, it's not common, Mr. Chair. This is the first time.
So that's irregular.
That is not usual, Mr. Chair.
Anyway, Mr. Chairman, ako, attorney, I have just cited our internal rules, no? I hope you will answer truthfully so that this committee will not be forced to cite you in contempt. Ganun lang po. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair. But as
Mr.
mentioned,
Chair?
my responses were based on documents.
Ma'am, as I've told you, you're a lawyer, alam mo po. Salamat po, Chairman.
Thank you, but
Mr.
at
Chair,
this point,
can we request Kong Paduano to extend this request? Yeah. Mr. Chair, can we request Kong Paduano, since he's already posting questions and looking for Ma'am Acosta, maybe they can call her over the phone kasi on official travel naman siya, so she's still active and performing her duties.
pwede po ba
The Finance
pakitawagan na
Officer,
lang po
Attorney
ninyo
Sanchez
si
and Attorney Lopez.
Ma'am Acosta?
I will try, Mr. Chair.
The Chair would like to recognize Congressman Rog Gutierrez. Rog.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just a few questions na po to continue. I think the committee has already expressed its interest by asking already Land Bank na pagtaka po talaga yung issue po of the money trail. I think we have established that the cash withdrawn from the Land Bank representing the confidential funds are taken out by the SDO in cash. Hindi pa napadeposit sa Land Bank. And it is in the personal cost of the SDO, which is in line with the joint circular. However, this is 125 million in cash, and in the case of DepEd, 37.5 million per quarter in cold hard cash. But what is not sure yet is where Ms. Acosta and Mr. Fajardo have brought the cash. I think we've established the line so far with the tellers. We're still going to have to establish that at least from the Land Bank up until the deposit, from the release of the check up to the encashment in Land Bank. We've seen that so far, but we still have yet to establish where the cash goes after that. And we have some further questions po in relation to this. Kasi po, ang nakita po natin, based on the testimonies, even from the last hearing, in the question of confidential funds, it all points to two people po. In the case of DepEd, at least, it's pointing to the SDO and the head of agency, in which case that would be Mr. Fajarda and then Secretary Duterte. And of course, for the OVP, although interestingly, based on our last hearing, it actually was pointed to three people. If we recall the testimony of Attorney Sanchez, she actually mentioned that, based from her knowledge, the persons who would have knowledge of this confidential funds would be the SDO, si Ms. Acosta, the head of agency, which is VP Duterte, and the Chief of Staff, Ms. Zuleika Lopez. So in line with this, just to clarify, I'd like to ask a few questions po, no, kay Attorney Lopez, to the Honorable Chairman. Attorney Lopez, nabanggit po yung pangalan po ninyo last hearing. Just to refresh your memory, I'm sure at the time you were busy po with your personal concerns. We were asking si Attorney Sanchez po and si Ms. Ville del Rey about the processes within the OVP and the disbursement of the confidential funds. And it was mentioned, I believe, specifically by Attorney Sanchez, what we've established, at least with Ms. Villa del Rey, is that wala po silang kinalaman sa disbursement ng confidential funds. Ang alam lang po ng chief accountant is the requirements and that they would have to submit for the release of the check. And kasama rin po dito si Attorney Sanchez. However, Attorney Sanchez, I believe, made that statement that past that point, and what we've established with the Land Bank, the personalities involved with the confidential funds would be the SDO, the VP, and yourself. However, we take note po, Ms. Lopez, to the Honorable Chairman, most respectfully, na binanggit po ninyo that you're only concerned with operations. And by operations, you're talking, I guess, about the social amelioration program ng Office of the Vice President. Is that correct, Ms. Lopez?
That is correct, Your Honor. That is my role as Undersecretary and Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President.
Ms. Lopez, I hope Attorney Lopez, I hope you understand how we would be, how we would find that quite confusing, because generally the idea of a chief of staff would be second to the head of the agency, and by virtue of that, everyone else in that department would be under the chief of staff. Generally, that's how it works. Our understanding is that in the OVP, how many USEC positions are there? May we ask?
There's only one Undersecretary position, Your Honor.
And the undersecretary position is that of the chief of staff. Correct?
That is correct.
So generally, including the SDO, although they have specific responsibilities under the circular regarding to the confidential funds, they are still under your supervision as the USEC.
The SDOs, Your Honor, do not report to me.
They don't report to you, although you are the most senior official after the Vice President in the...
Your Honor, if I may be allowed to, Sir Congressman Gutierrez, if I may be allowed to explain my answer. In the Office of the Vice President, although I am the Undersecretary and the Chief of Staff, I am purely handling, as I mentioned, operational concerns. There are areas, for example, that I am not privy to, one of which is the matter of confidential expenses. But as regards the institutionalization of the projects, implementation of the projects, communications that come through the office, internal, issuances of memo, issuances of special orders, etc., they go through me. And also, for external communications, Your Honor, for example, there is a request for referral to the, for example, the DSWD or the Department of Health. All these matters, Your Honor, are coursed to the Office of the Chief of Staff. And all communications emanate also from the Office of the Chief of Staff, external, especially to those national government agencies. On top of that, Your Honor, I handle the day-to-day operations of, there is a clustering in the Office of the Vice President. For example, in the case of Director Lin, she handles the finance cluster, which is budget, accounting, GSD, no, is under you, the procurement. That is her AOR. On my end, Your Honor, I handle the frontline delivery of administrative support such as Disaster Operations Center, Legal Affairs Division, and also the protocol team. Those are matters that I have direct hand into and information I am privy to. So yun lang po yung aking areas of concern. And there are areas actually in the Office of the Vice President, katulad, for example, let me just cite, if you allow me, sir, the matter of the appointments or the scheduling of the courtesy calls, etc., on the Vice President. Although it may be true that high-ranking officials call me and say na, USEC, attorney, confirm mo naman yung aming appointment with the Vice President. This is something that I have no say, direct say to, because this is all done by the appointments team. In the same manner, the protocol team of the Vice President, although all the members of the diplomatic corps call me as the head of the agency, as the highest official, and as the Chief of Staff, it does not guarantee them that there will be a scheduled courtesy call, because these are matters that are determined purely on that end. So it's I think it's a compartmentalized kind of setup, Your Honor, that there are only certain functions and tasks that I am privy to, in which case that is the one that I have mentioned earlier. But although I would wish to answer really respectfully as regards the matter of the confidential expenses, it is something that I have not really been privy to from the very beginning. So, in the case of the earlier questions by Congressman Acop, rather, it is something that I cannot really answer because I am not privy to the disbursement, utilization, nor liquidation of the confidential funds. So, ganun po siya, Your Honor. That is how it is run in the Office of the Vice President.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification, Attorney Lopez. Well, I only mentioned
Thank
that
you.
because it was the words of Attorney Sanchez that mentioned that you would probably be privy to the disbursement. I think it would be understandable. It would be an understandable statement on the part of Atty Sanchez because the general understanding of a chief of staff
Okay.
and being the sole USEC of that agency,
Yes.
there would be an understanding that there would be certain that you would have overall supervision. Well, in relation to the SDOs and in line with the circular, we also understand that they have specific responsibilities only to them. But we can't help but be puzzled, po, no? And I understand you're telling us now that it's compartmentalized, but still we would think that generally the head of the agency would course things through you. Although necessarily separate yung sa issue ng disbursement of the SDO, wouldn't other matters regarding the SDO, for example, administrative or human resources or logistics-wise, are they not coursed through you in relation to SDO? Because if I'm understanding it correctly, the job of the SDO would also entitle a lot of travel. As you've pointed out earlier, I mean, we've seen that maraming travel orders po ang ating SDO to the point na wala rin po siya today because of official travel po, no? So in relation to that, there's a lot of intermingling pa rin. Although you might say compartmentalized, there are a lot of things that would go through you. I would understand the travel orders are signed by the Assistant Chief of Staff right now only because you were gone for the longest time. But generally, you would be signing off on the travel orders of the SDO. Would that be a fair statement?
Your Honor, I do not sign off on the travel orders of certain officials, or in this case, the SDO. May I just confirm kung sino lang yung pwede kong pirmahan na travel authority? Just the OD units, ba? Oh. In my case, Your Honor, in the case of the Office of the Vice President, I can only sign off on the travels of Directors Lynn Sanchez and Director Baloro, who is the Director for Operations. All the other travel authorities, I do not sign off on them. It is HR. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, Attorney Lopez, you're telling us now that even sa pag-sign ng travel orders, may clustering pa po kayo? You are only authorized to issue travel orders for these two officials, and then everyone else has different parang boss. Ganun po ba yung sistema sa OVP? I hope you'd understand the confusion because we were presented before an organization, and it all seemed to be like a pyramid, downstream lahat. Although there are clusters, everything's under you. But now we're seeing that there are limits to your responsibility. Are we understanding this correctly?
Your Honor, in the Office of the Vice President, we have a certain delegation of authority. There's only certain papers or documents that get into the Office of the Chief of Staff. And there are also others that go directly to the Office of Director Sanchez, as well as the Office of Director for Operations.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Lopez, could you please guide us through also? Ano po yung ibang clusters? I think you mentioned financial, appointment, protocol. Operations, of course, is what you're in charge of. What are the other clusters so that we have an idea? So, and in line with that, Attorney Lopez, so what you're saying now is confirming what Attorney Poa told us earlier, that if you take a deeper look into the OVP, napaka-compartmentalized. He used the same term, actually. It's very compartmentalized sa OVP. So you are affirming that now po?
Yusek Poa said,
Na compartmentalized po yung OVP. Sometimes, what the left hand does, the right hand doesn't know. Parang what si Attorney Poa, while spokesperson, should be expected to know the ins and outs of the office. Because precisely as spokesperson, he will be relaying this information to the public. When we were asking him, he said compartmentalized po. He does not know about confidential funds. So you now, as the Chief of Staff, you are now confirming ng OVP po, despite the hierarchy that we see in the official organization chart, napaka-compartmentalized pala po yung OVP.
yes, that is correct, Your Honor. I can only speak for my experience as the Chief of Staff. I cannot really speak for Attorney Poa because there are certain areas in the OVP that I have no information on, or I cannot really have a direct hand on how it all operates. Your
So,
Honor.
Mr. Chair, in the operation of the OVP, rather than the usual hierarchy where it's a pyramid, where you have the large base with information or data or operations, which passes information upwards to select supervisors, upwards again to director level, ASEC, USEC, and finally to the VP. You're telling us now that the OVP operates in a hub and spoke type of situation, wherein the OVP is central and then direct na lang po siya to the different. For example, OVP direct kay spokesperson, direct kay Chief of Staff, direct kay Attorney Sanchez, for operating different clusters. And each cluster doesn't know what the other is doing.
I can only answer, Your Honor, on my role as the Chief of Staff.
Yes, sorry, and I'll just add to that point. And I understand you can only speak as the Chief of Staff because what you're telling us now is that you have been compartmentalized only as the Chief of Staff. So now you're telling me, what I'm trying to present now, and if you would agree with that, is that the VP is very hands-on but treats you separately. So there's like I said, the hub and spoke, the VP is in the center, and she deals directly with Attorney Poa for other matters which you might not know, then directly with you for Chief of Staff of Operations for matters that only you know, directly to Attorney Sanchez for matters that only the finance would know, and you don't coordinate with each other.
There are cases, Your Honor, that is, in my experience, that is the case. For example, in the case of the spokesperson, it is not something that I am also privy to, the instructions for the OVP spokesperson. It happens, Your Honor, that way.
Thank you. I think this will be more, the compartmentalization of the OVP will be more relevant as we go on. But I'll just go back and focus on the SDOs. Thank you very much, Attorney Lopez.
Okay, thank
so
you.
yun po, we had an idea, although Attorney Sanchez mentioned that 3 persons were involved with the SDO, it seems to be narrowed down po, no? It looks to be, like with the DepEd, it's 2 people. We have SDO, Gina Acosta, and the head of agency, which is the Vice President. So, para sa kalaman po ng lahat, yung joint circular, it dictates there that the SDO is personally tasked with the disbursement and liquidation of confidential funds. And the head of agency is personally tasked to oversee. So what Attorney Lopez has told us now, by excusing herself or by separating herself from the operations of the confidential fund, it now affirms what is in the joint circular. It is down to these 2 people. And in other words, yung SDO po yung inaatasan ng batas natin na humawak at siguraduhin mapunta ang confidential funds sa naayon na confidential expenses.